Hello, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are well and healthy and happy, and if not, hopefully you will feel well and healthy and slightly happier after the end of this class. Was hesitating to even label this class because I know it's not everyone's favorite movement, but today all things squat. Squatting is so important for maintaining functional strength and health. Um, it's great, actually, strangely, for releasing the low back as well. And yeah, you got to get up and down off the floor for presumably, hopefully, the rest of our lives. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Not to say we're not going to do some other stuff as well, but mostly squats. So we're going to do that position of uh, external rotation at the hips in both strength and stretching. So it's going to be a lot of hips. Hope you come back after today. Let's start lying down. So you could have the legs outstretched, or maybe you prefer to have the knees bent, in which case maybe take the feet mat width apart and let the knees hang in toward each other. I'm going to stay there because it feels quite nice for me today. Maybe a little loop of your shoulders or shoulder blades onto your back, just so the chest and the shoulders open a little bit more on the front. Anywhere that you need to be. And then for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, gentle sigh. Your breath away. 2 more. And then let go of that sort of breath control. Notice how your breath is flowing. Maybe it feels really open and free or spacious. And then simply acknowledge that. Maybe you notice some sticky or choppy spots along the way, in which case you might gently try to lengthen through those parts just to smooth the breath out a little bit more without forcing it. Last few breaths here. And slowly start to bring a little movement back to your body. Wiggle of the fingertips or toes. A little rock of your head from side to side, or maybe a full body morning stretch. And then gently draw your knees toward your chest. Take a little rock from side to side. And then take one hand to each knee and then start to take the knees wide out towards the edges of the mat and then forward to the top edge of the mat. Draw them through the center up toward your chest and then out wide again. So we're drawing big circles here with the thighs and the hip sockets, kind of like breaststroke legs. And then pause in the center, go the opposite direction, so toward the top of the mat first, top of the mat, and then out to the sides, and then up to the chest. So moving the hips, getting the synovial fluid pumping and less viscous to help glide the hips or the femurs in the high hip sockets while we work on our squats. Okay, take your thighs or your knees out toward the side, so out toward your shoulders or armpits. You could rock a little bit from side to side here. This is essentially your squat position, right? Except that you are on your back. Maybe you kick your feet to the sky. You can grab the backs of the thighs, the outside of the legs, the ankles, or the feet for happy baby. Again, here you might rock a little bit from side to side. And I want you to concentrate on keeping that little bit of space between the low back and the floor. So the tailbone isn't reaching up to the sky, right? You're not in spinal flexion here. Try to keep the spine neutral. Normally I don't care, but because we're working squats today, let's try and keep that lower back nice and protected, or at least neutral. Okay, shake it all out. Hug your knees into your chest, or maybe grab the backs of the thighs. Some of you will feel really great rocking and rolling up and down your spine here. You might play with that little balance at the top in boat pose. Oh. Some of you might not feel good doing that. So roll to one side and then press yourself up to hands and knees. So eventually sitting up with your knees underneath your hips. So it can be tucked or untucked behind you. And then hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. Little draw of belly button to spine. And as you inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through the collarbones. Exhale, round through the spine. Really press the floor away from you. Inhale to ripple into cow. Exhale, round into cat. So a few more of these undulations on your own time, on your own breath. As always, if there's any other natural movement that would feel really good here, then feel free to move however you need to move. Okay, come back to center. Little lift of your belly button to your spine. Tuck your toes and exhale, lift your hips all the way up and back into your downward facing dog. You might pedal the heels toward the floor here, bending one knee and then the other. Particularly if your calves feel really tight today, this is a fantastic way to release through the calves. You can even stay longer if you want to. Pause the video or meet us when you're done. Make sure when you look forward, you see the fingers spread nice and wide, fingertips gripping into the mat. Feel a little pocket in the palm of the hand. This helps engage the forearm muscles, which will protect your wrist anytime you're bearing weight on your hands. Last couple breaths here. And then bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat and come into standing forward fold. Knees a little bit micro bent or even deeply bent. You could rest your elbows on your knees or thighs if you'd like a little bit more support today. Maybe you bring your hands to blocks or a coffee table even if you have one nearby. You could clasp opposite elbows with hands. Maybe you sway a little bit from side to side. Let's go wherever you need to go. You could rock forward and back in the feet or draw little circles even here. Last breath here. And then release your hands if they're bound. Bring your fingertips to your shins or maybe the mat. Inhale, little partway lift, belly button to spine. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more. And then bend your knees, head heavy, arms heavy. Slowly start to roll up to standing. One vertebra at a time. Slow as you need to go. Till eventually you come all the way up to standing. Maybe a couple loops of your shoulders. Up, back, and down. Little wiggle or release. Shake out the legs. And we're standing. That was a weird position. I don't know what's going on with me today. Anyway, you could take your mat and turn it so the long edge is facing forward to the video if you want to. We're going to be doing a lot this way, and it might just be easier for you, or you can move the camera or whatever. Not you, video. I'm the one on the camera. You're the one watching the video. Anyway, enough of that. Take your feet quite a bit wider than hip width, but not super, super, super wide. So maybe a little bit wider than shoulder width. And then bend your knees, stick your booty back, and then look down. So make sure the knees aren't caving in. Send them back toward the baby toe edges of the feet. You can be pretty upright here, but as long as it's not like you're arching into it. As long as the knees can travel back, then go where you need to go. So, wide squat. Hands could be on your hips. Those are not my hips, those are my thighs. You could do this little shoulder dip thing, getting into the adductors. In fact, let's all do that. So dip the left shoulder forward, press the left hand into that left thigh, opening a little bit more through the groin, the adductors on that left side. And then back to center, and then right shoulder dips down. Press the right thigh back. And then come back to center. Maybe sit a little bit deeper. And then come on up, shake it out. Let's flow through some squats. So inhale up to the sky. Exhale, sit down into your wide squat. Inhale up. Exhale down. One more time. Exhale. Okay, so we're going to be here for a while. You can move a little bit from side to side. Maybe do this kind of sneaky dancery arms. Make sure those knees keep pointing back. This is going to be your basic squat today, this wide leg squat. Even if you're resting your hands on your thighs for a bit more support, right, it'll give you that work. Last 2 breaths here. Okay, exhale. Oh, shake it out a little bit. Little wiggle of the hips. Shake out the legs. And then shake it all out. Okay, come on back to feet about hip width apart. Little bend in the knees. Belly button to spine, and then squeeze your butt. Like rock hard. So showing off to anyone who might be in the room. Keep squeezing the bum. Keep breathing. Couple more breaths here. Let it all go. Okay, 2 more times. Squeeze the bum. Breathe, belly button to spine, nice posture. You're really just trying to activate the glutes, right? This is not something that you want to do in your life, walking down the street with these like diamond hard glutes. Whew, shake it out. One more time. But it's a fantastic way to encourage the glutes to fire a little bit faster. Last couple breaths here. Okay, shake it out. Little wiggle, shake out the legs. Okay, bring your feet maybe shoulder width apart, toes turned out. You know where we're going. Let's sit down into Malasana. Now, if this is not a great position for you, then come back to that wide squat. You can rest your elbows on your knees or your thighs. And now, ankle mobility is kind of a limiter in squats. So if your heels are lifted, that's totally fine. If you want to try and get them down, I find a wider stance and feet turned out more will help release the heels down. Okay, now make sure you're not just hanging out at the bottom here, because then you're not really getting the benefits of the work. So a little buoyancy here. If you had to stand up, you could. Press the elbows into the knees or thighs, rub the shoulder blades on the back, lift through the heart. And let's just rock a little bit side to side here. Maybe you draw circles even. Woo, that's wobbly. Find that buoyancy. Maybe you do the arms. Maybe you exhale, reach the left arm forward, right arm back. Nice little twist. Inhale up. Exhale, twist. Inhale up. Exhale, twist. Inhale, last side. Come back to center. Last couple breaths here. Okay, bring your hands to the floor. Maybe you lift the heels a little bit and then bend the knees. Lift the hips up to the sky. Woo! Little shake out of the legs. Maybe a little rock from side to side or a little bounce. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, a little partway lift. Even in this wider stance, it's fine. Exhale, let it go. And then slowly roll up to standing, one vertebra at a time, until you're all the way up. Whew. Little wiggle or shake. How them legs feeling? My glutes are fired up. My quads too. As much as we try to make squats glute forward, I guess we could say, the quads are working, right? These guys extend the knee and they help flex at the hip. So they're definitely working. Whereas the glutes extend the hip and don't do anything with the knee because we're not doing hamstrings. It's glutes. So, okay. Feet back. Either wide squat, if that's going to be better for you than that full squat, or Malasana. We're going to do 10 squats. Take your time. Maybe you squat all the way down to Malasana, but only if you can come up with control. Maybe you're doing a little half or quarter squat. That's totally fine. I want you to think about precision with your technique rather than forcing yourself to go too low. I squat quite low, but that's just me. Okay. So go where you need to go. Hands can be wherever they need to be, maybe in front, maybe in prayer, but let's get at it. When you're done, rest either in standing or in your standing forward fold. Okay, ready? All right, so here we go. For me, that's 1 and 2, 3. Go as slowly as you need to go, right? You can always pause the camera or the video. I'm at 5, only 5 left to do. If you're with me on the count. I've lost count. I'm gonna do 3 more just in case. Maybe that'll be 11 squats, maybe it'll be 12. Last one for me anyway. Oh, okay. Woo, a little wiggle or shake out. I'm gonna come into a forward fold so I get that nice extension through the glutes just to help release them. Woo, a little sway from side to side. You're probably wondering, what the heck, Emily? Am I all of a sudden doing high intensity interval class or is this yoga? Well, that's both. Inhale, a little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Once more. Okay, bend your knees. Slowly start to roll up to standing. One vertebra at a time. Shake the legs out. And you know, if I make you work this hard, you're going to get a good stretch after. So one last little strengthening thing before we come down to the floor. Let's all take a wide squat stance. Again, not too crazy wide. Exhale, down into your squat. Okay, make sure you're not running forward. Nice posture. Your hips can go back, that's fine. As long as you're not, right, dumping into the low back and you're not rounding. Knees go back to the baby toe edges of the feet. Okay, inhale the right arm high. Exhale, little side bend to the left. Spiral the upper right ribs open to the sky. You can use that left hand to press that knee back if you wish. And then back to center. Inhale the left arm high. Exhale over to the right. Both knees travel back. Spiral the upper left ribs open to the sky. Lots of work. Inhale, center. Last 3, 2, 1. Exhale, slowly release. Forward fold. Okay, wide leg forward fold. So the feet spin, heels spin out so that they're wider than the toes. This is a really great place to bring something underneath your hands. Make sure the knees are bent, right? So you're not locking the legs out. And rather than trying to push the feet away from each other, can you think of hugging them back to the center line? So you still have that little bit of activation through the groin, but now we're getting a nice release for the the hamstrings and the glutes. Last breath here. Okay. Bring your hands to the floor underneath your shoulders. Inhale, a little lift. Exhale, let it go. We're just equalizing the blood pressure. Inhale, a little partway lift. Exhale, flow. Last one. And slowly bend your knees. Heel into the feet. Back underneath you. And then slowly roll up to standing. Shake it out. Okay, I promise. That's it. Enough work. Inhale up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, a little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees. Plant your hands. Step back to hands and knees. Little wiggle or sway. And then take your knees mat width apart. Toes come toward each other at the back edge of the mat. And send the hips back toward your heels for child's pose. So you might bring a pillow between your heels and your bum, particularly if your hips are up quite high. You could bring a pillow underneath your torso. Maybe you stack your fists under your forehead or allow the forehead to rest to the floor. And then take a few breaths here, letting the hips release, but in that similar position to your squat. So remember, I mentioned we were going to work the hips in that external rotation, but also release them. Last few breaths here. Okay, slowly bring your hands to the floor underneath your shoulders. Gently press yourself up. Hands and knees. A little wiggle or shake. And then shift your hips on one side so that you can swing your legs forward. Whoo! It doesn't take much, right? It's different from squatting in the gym under weight, right? Doing these long hold body weight squats. Just a different way of training your body. Okay, we're going to go into a butterfly position. This is a really fantastic place to sit up on something like a chip foam block or even a pillow to help tilt the pelvis forward, particularly if when you're sitting here you feel like your spine naturally rounds and it's just a drag to try and sit up tall. You can also bring pillows or blocks underneath your knees, right? Doesn't matter how high they need to go. And then try to not hold on to your toes. If you can, just hold on to the ankles. And then lift nice and tall. As you exhale, start to come forward on that long line. You might pause here. See how that feels on your low back. If it's all right, then you can start to round forward. Maybe your butterfly pose today is all the way up here, and that is totally fine. Maybe you've got your nose to your toes. And that's totally fine too, so long as you are releasing in a pain-free range of motion. So even more external rotation at the hips. We're going to do a little something just to reset the hips before we end today. And then bring your hands to the floor. Inhale. Slowly roll yourself back up. You can use your hands underneath your knees or thighs to draw the legs toward each other. Shake them out a little bit. And then make your way down onto your back. Once you're down, hug your knees into your chest. Take a little rock from side to side. Okay. Bring your feet to the floor. Hip width apart, parallel-ish, close enough into your bum that you can graze your heels with your fingertips. And then toes spread wide. Press the heels into the floor to inhale. Lift the spine up and away. So you might pause at the top of bridge, or you might come in and out of your bridge pose. Wherever you need to go. Some of you might choose to walk onto the outside edge of the shoulders. Maybe you clasp your hands behind your back. Make sure the knees aren't winging out to the side, nor are they touching. Squeeze your bum. Last couple breaths here. Resetting the pelvis. We're getting hip opening here. And then slowly exhale. Lower down to the floor. Pause here. Maybe you take the feet mat width apart and let the knees hang in toward each other. And then heel until your feet back into center. Cross your right ankle over top of your left thigh. This might be enough for you on that outer right hip. If you would like a little bit more, then start to de-weight that left leg. Maybe you interlace your hands behind the back of the left thigh or over top of the shin. Maybe you just bring your foot to the wall even, or onto a block. Last couple breaths here. And then gently release your legs, shake them out. And then when you're ready, cross your left ankle over top of the right thigh. And maybe you stay here and maybe you draw your right thigh toward you. Whether you're just using the muscles of your core or maybe you interlace your hands behind the right thigh or over top of the right shin. You could sway a little bit, or maybe you're still. Keep that left ankle quite active. Last breath here. And then release your hands, your legs, shake them all out. And then shift your hips a little bit to the right. Right arm goes out to the side. Exhale, lower your knees to the left. Nice gentle twist, whatever variation you want to take today. And then slowly inhale, return to center. Reset your spine, your pelvis. And then exhale, lower your knees to the right. Balancing out your spine. And as gentle or as deep as you need. And inhale, now slowly return to center. If there's anything else you feel like you need before your rest, maybe one last happy baby, or some sort of spinal flexion or extension, go wherever you need to go. Otherwise, think about where you'd like to go for your rest. Flat on your back, legs bent or straight in Shavasana. You can rest on your side in child's pose or a seated meditation. But wherever you are, wherever you found that pose of rest, for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh. Air breath. Couple more. And then let go of your breath control. Return to your natural breath. Notice if you're holding any last muscular gripping or tension in the body. And if so, can you let it go? With each exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And stay here longer if you can. 5, 10, 15 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.